Book or course? Which one do you actually need? If you are any type of an expert, a coach, or a thought leader sitting on a body of knowledge, chances are you've asked yourself some version of that question. And it feels, for some reason, I hear it a lot. People think of it as an either or decision. You have to pick a lane. But I'm here to tell you, that's not true. I want to reframe that entirely because the question really isn't about format. It's about something more fundamental. It's about what do you actually want to happen to the people who encounter your work? Do you want them to simply know you're thinking? Do you want them to trust you, feel seen, decide they want to go deeper with you? Or do you actually want them to be able to do something they couldn't do before? Those are very different promises, and they require different designs. Today, we're going to talk about what a book does brilliantly, where it hits a ceiling, what the limitations are, and how to know where a course or program could really emphasize what your book puts out. So by the end, my hope is that you'll know not just which one you need, but why. So let's get into it. A book is a relationship opener. It lets someone into your mindset, your thinking, your world. It helps them understand your values, your worldview, your experience. And it's one of the best ways for someone to decide whether they want to work more with you. So I think about some of the books that I love. I am not just learning facts. I'm getting a sense of who the person who wrote it actually is. And it's really powerful. And those are all things a book does well. It puts you in a frame of mind of the author. And some people, man, they're just such good writers. They are able to take what's in their head and put it on a page in a way where it comes alive. Some people do that verbally, but I think there's a lasting quality to words on a page. It is something you can refer back to easily, quickly, and they have a lot of permanence, the actual physical book. And I think as we go into even deeper in this digital age, we're going to miss that physical, handheld ability to reference things in a more permanent way. Just like all the newspaper clippings my grandmother would cut out, or how she dog-eared pages of her books or wrote little notes, she could refer back to that point in time over and over again. And yes, you can save things and bookmark things in a digital format, but there's something different about the tangible written form. Anyways, all of this, having that book, it builds credibility. It signals depth. It says, I have thought deeply and seriously about this topic. And for coaches and other experts, that matters a lot. But here's the thing. A book isn't a two-way conversation. It is largely information sharing. It is one way. The author shares, the reader receives. But what the reader does is entirely up to them. What they do with that knowledge doesn't have a prescribed pathway. So let's talk about the limits of what a book can't do that a course can. There's a difference between information and transformation. A book, even a brilliant one, is primarily an informative, information-led experience. It can change how you think, that is true. It can shift your perspective, it can open your mind, inspire you, but it can't reliably change what you do, not without something more. There's a distinction in learning science between two kinds of knowledge, just knowing that somebody or something is true and knowing how to do something. A book is very good at the first, but it's not so good at the second. That's often what you need a well-designed course for, to know the how to apply it. There are instructional books. Think of workbooks, think of textbooks. I very clearly remember a copy of Computers for Dummies on my grandmother's bookshelf, those black and yellow books that were everywhere. They had them on every subject. And I do think this was before YouTube became really prominent. So these blank for dummies, in this case, Computers for Dummies, those books actually worked because they were essentially courses hiding inside of a book. They had steps, they had practice activities, they had a logical sequence, screenshots, all those things. But that's the exception. It's still not as comprehensive as what I would call a true learning experience. It is a great starting point. And what it's missing is the social interaction. Books don't have any interaction. And it's not a criticism. This just isn't the way books were built. You need a chance to ask questions. You're not having a dialogue with the author in real time. You're not able to ask questions and get feedback on how you've done the exercises. So it still is very much a one-way transfer of knowledge. And the worst part is when you get stuck, when you're following the steps and then suddenly your screen doesn't look like what's on the page. And that is so frustrating. And it happens to all of us in different ways. And I think back to, okay, I was an English major, so math classes were not my strong suit. And I wanted to be very logical and figure out, okay, what is the example showing? And then what is this problem asking me to do? And when they didn't match up, when I knew this one's got something different, I just felt stuck when I didn't have the precise problem. And you can't necessarily think of an example for every case or instance that you're going to encounter in real life. So that is a shortcoming of a book. Now, in a situation like a textbook, I had a chance to go and ask the professor or the teacher the very next day, usually in class, okay, what's up with this question? Or when I was younger, I quite often asked my dad for help because he was much better in math. But again, that's where learning and knowledge is gained through that interaction. It's a chance to bounce ideas off of each other and most importantly, get feedback on how I did. So when we get frustrated, when we get confused, when we feel like it's not working, some people lean into their perseverance. Yes, that is true. But most people, and this is proven, most people will just give up. And it makes me so sad because sometimes it's something that a simple question could fix. If you don't have a community for support, a lot of learners will just abandon the problem. So that's not what we want. We don't want learners to give up. And you can't just white knuckle your way through a course. That's not a healthy environment. But again, if you have interaction and you have a community, you're going to be more likely to reach out or realize you're not the only one with that question, to not feel so quote unquote dumb or foolish if you're having difficulty. And you can also see examples that the subject matter expert has probably gone through similar difficulties. And that is such an empowering place to be in. And I find it's harder to feel that from a book when the exercises are really meant to put things out in a clear, direct format, not to help you when you're ready to give up. So if you've written a book, or if you're thinking about writing a book, here's one question worth sitting with. What do I actually want this to do for the people who read it? The answer is, I want them to know my thinking, to understand what I've been through, to really see things through my eyes, to get a sense of my personality, and hopefully gain the know, like, and trust feeling. A book is a great tool for that. It has much more substance than the quick hits on social media. It is a more immersive experience than a blog. It can be a great reference point for your body of knowledge, your methodology, your way of thinking. And that can be really helpful for leading somebody down a path of transformation. But information without application is just information. It's your knowledge, but it's not anybody else's knowledge until they've been able to apply it and internalize it for themselves. And just hearing about something isn't enough to actually enact true transformation. Yes, we can absorb some of that knowledge, but if we haven't done anything with it, it's really hard to connect it to our real lives. So it has a great purpose, but I don't think it's the full transformation if you're looking to actually change somebody's skills or behavior in some way. So how they work together, I think for the right person, having both a course and a book is a real asset because they can work in tandem. So I think of the book as the more top of funnel aspects. It can help create the credibility that you need. If someone is deciding whether they want to work deeper with you, I have had my mind opened by so many beautiful books. And in a moment, sometimes I think, yeah, I would love to learn more. Great. Let's see if they have other books. Let's see if they have programs. I think it can be very helpful for understanding if a coach is the right fit for a client, knowing what you think and where you've been and how you've overcome that. And it can feel really gratifying to get it all out there on paper, that fully transparent version of yourself. But where it may stop is it's not going to give the full transformation. Even if you try to make it like a workbook and throw in reflection exercises or encourage them, the learner, the audience, to do certain things, there's still not that full circle feedback loop. It is still one directional, like I said. So I think a book is a great starting point, but you need that next step. What do you want your learners to be able to do? And I think the right audience member, it makes it very accessible to understand you and your perspectives, but that the right audience member is going to want more. If you have more to offer, that course could be a way to actually lead them through the steps, through the transformation, to get them to the other side, to get them a bigger outcome. Instead of just knowing about something, it helps them get to actually know how to do something and really live it and experience it. So I want to come back to that opening question, should I make a book or a course? And I just simply reframe it. It's not about either or, it's more about being honest with yourself and what you're building and what you want it to do. Writing a book can be very cathartic. It can help you clarify your ideas and then thinking about, okay, what activities do we want to add? How do we want to package a course or a program so that the ideas that I'm sharing can actually not just be heard or seen by my audience, but actually internalized. So if you're sitting on any type of expertise right now, your own method, your framework, a body of knowledge, and you're not sure what format to put it in, again, think about that long-term question. What do I want to happen to the people who encounter my work? And maybe it's tenfold, maybe it's multiple things. So reach out if you are curious and want help talking through all the possibilities for how to package your genius. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And please rate this podcast if you found it useful. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for tuning into the Learning Alchemy Lab. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe and connect with me on Instagram at The Learning Alchemist. Until next time, keep teaching with intention and creating learning that truly transforms.